before I ask my question. So do you come from Holocaust survivors, or are you a Jewish family that didn't?
So my great-great-grandparents arrived here. A lot of our extended family was killed in the Holocaust, but our immediate
your
family...
great-great-grandparents, but not your grandparents.
Right.
Oh, do you have friends whose grandparents were Holocaust survivors or anything like that?
Of course, many of them. Yeah, I've helped write memoirs of Holocaust survivors.
Yeah. Their families are kind of messed up, right? Like, my family is very messed up.
I mean, if you go through a trauma like the Holocaust, I would imagine
they teach that trauma between generations. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, trauma very often in a lot of circumstances is passed down. I mean, I know some kids of Holocaust survivors who turned out fantastic and some who didn't. I mean,
yeah. Okay, so you are officially woke.
This situation is a textbook illustration of the saying, it's impossible to argue with a stupid person. When someone is unwilling or unable to engage in a logical reasoning or a meaningful dialogue, then conversation becomes futile, No matter how well thought out your points are, they are either dismissed or misunderstood or met with irrational responses.
That is what wokeness is about. It's like, people's grandparents or their great-grandparents were slaves.
Well, it's okay. No, it's okay. Guys,
Fuck you! I'm talking.
Guys, I actually want to hear. I want to hear. No, it's okay. It's okay. I want to hear. Let's at least hear the argument. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Go.
What? He wants to hear me.
I do want to hear it. It's fine. Let him go. Let's hear it.
Come on. I'll just.
So explain how that's woke.
So I mean, the whole thing is like, let's see. So during Silent Cal, Calvin Coolidge's administration, do you know about like the Great Mississippi Flood back in the 1930s?
I understand that American history is filled with racial evil.
Yeah. And that causes some intergenerational trauma, which affects people's ability to be, effective, things like that.
Fine. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So if the idea is that history has consequences, of course that's true. That's not wokeness.
Yeah.
That is not wokeness. What wokeness suggests is that fundamental institutions in American society
are so... No, it doesn't.
Yes, it 100% does.
Arguing in such circumstances feels like trying to explain advanced concepts to someone who refuses to listen or deliberately twist words to suit their perspective and narrative. Their stubbornness and lack of self-awareness makes it impossible to have a productive exchange, It's actually sad. I mean, instead of seeking truth, or understanding, they often resort to emotional outbursts, or right-out denial of facts.
I ran Elizabeth Warren's campaign. I helped organize her volunteers around here. I am a representative of wokeness.
Okay, well,
and that's this is all it is.
Well,
when I went to go get my first tattoo, the guy had lightning bolts and 88s tattooed on his neck. And as a Jewish person, that's really messed up. It's basically a threat.
There are racist people who exist. The argument that you're making, and I'm going to close with this because this is going in weird directions, and I don't really want to.
No, it's not
I
going in a weird
don't really
direction.
want to get. Just hold up a second. I let you get out your arguments, and now it's time for me to respond because I let you say
okay,
before.
I'll let you respond, but
no, not but. Now's my turn.
You are not characterizing what I'm saying accurately.
Now it's my turn.
It's like trying to climb a mountain of nonsense that keeps growing higher with every step. Engaging further only leads to frustration and wasted energy because their goal isn't resolution, it's self-justification or winning for the sake of pride. I mean, this is why wisdom lies not in proving a point to such individuals, but in recognizing when to step away and avoid being entangled in fruitless debates,
Your definition is inaccurate. The reason your definition is inaccurate is because any sentient human being would acknowledge that history has consequences.
Right.
But if the idea is, but that's not what wokeism is. Wokeism is a different thing. Wokeism suggests that all inequalities of today are attributable to not only historic injustices, but also continuing injustices in the now, and that all disparity is attributable to discrimination.
Like that, but a conservative.
Not just that.
A conservative is the only person. I want to know why. Why is it that conservatives are the only people who define it like that? Why are conservatives the only people?
Okay, so we're gonna have to stop here because this is going nowhere. But
what's up?
I'm gonna have to stop with you because this is going nowhere.
That woke guy's stupidity seems to know no limits. It's as if he takes pride in rejecting logic, reason, or common sense, at every turn. I mean, his arguments are so absurd and devoid of critical thought that, they border on self-parody. I mean, it's difficult to comprehend how someone could so confidently champion such flawed and misguided ideas. Come on, folks. Come on.
All I'm going to say is this. To sum up,
I just am trying to understand your perspective. Just one more second. On a
fundamental level, you're shifting definitions to avoid the consequences of your own argument. And if the idea is... And final point. If you are going to... Hold on. If you are also, just final point to sum up there. Final point to sum.
I can follow that.
Yeah,
but,
I just want to make, honestly, I want to make one final point to sum up there.
I mean, it's no surprise then that he aligns himself as a representative of the so-called woke movement. His rhetoric embodies the worst aspects of this ideology, an overemphasis on virtue signaling, an inability to tolerate differing viewpoints, and a tendency to even evaluate emotional reactions over reactional discourse. Yeah, rather than fostering meaningful conversations, his approach seems to thrive on division, self-righteousness, and a refusal to acknowledge reality. I mean, it's just common sense, folks.
If the idea is that traumas of the past invariably bleed down into the present, that does not explain why certain groups that have been historically not only marginalized but slaughtered in mass genocide are some of the most successful groups in our society. So if the idea is... If the idea is that past trauma always equals current inequality, or that my actions in, say, robbing a convenience store are attributable to bad actions that happened in Alabama in 1930, the answer to that is no. Don't rob the convenience store. The only way that you're going to be able to break the chain of history is to make good decisions. What people on the left don't like to talk about is actual solutions. What they like to do is bitch about problems that existed 60 years ago and blame those for failures to solve them now.
Such behavior not only reflects poorly on him, but also undermines the credibility of the causes he claims to represent. Instead of inspiring progress or understanding, his boundless ignorance and misplaced confidence highlight the dangers of adopting ideologies without thoughtful reflection or accountability. It's a reminder of how critical it is to challenge ideas with reason, folks. This truly heartbreaking part of the situation is that this guy, along with a group of people he probably surrounds himself with, genuinely believe every word that comes out of this guy's mouth. They are not only, merely posturing or playing the devil's advocate, but they are completely convinced that their perspective is the ultimate truth. This kind of blind conviction is particularly dangerous because it leaves little room for growth, It hardens their hearts to truth and reason, making it nearly impossible to reach them with, alternate perspectives, or different viewpoints. They have been bought so fully into their ideology that it has become so difficult, to reason with these guys. It's so difficult. They are so emotionally driven. As long as if I feel this is what I want and what is right, that's truth for them. What a time we are now living in. What happened to common sense, folks? What happened to common sense? It's a sad reflection of how far people can stray, when they refuse to question their assumptions or consider the possibility that they might be wrong, It's only a reminder of the importance of engaging with people passionately, yet firmly speaking truth, into their lives and praying that one day their eyes will be open to reality. Yeah, for real, folks, for real. I mean, it is my deepest and most heartfelt desire that someday he will come to recognize the truth and embrace it fully. I long for that moment, when his eyes are opened to see beyond lies and illusions that currently cloud his understanding. I mean, the truth has the power to transform lives, to bring clarity where there is confusion and to illuminate a path of purpose and fulfillment.